Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, live for the next half hour. Join us as we provide you with all the scores, news, and updates to everything Franklin County sports. And now, here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. Want to let you know that we're very fortunate to have some wonderful underwriters that have been wonderful and generous to be able to help us out here at Greenfield Community Television. Thank you so much to Franklin First Federal Credit Union at franklinfirst.org. Also, you have our friends over at Manny's TV and Appliance, River Street in Greenfield, Route 9 in Hadley, and Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services. Alber Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, alberhearing.com. Well, we want to say thank you to Philippe Simone, making sure that we get this on here this week, and let's get started. Well, in boys basketball last Tuesday, it was the Franklin County Tech with a win over Smith Vocational 66-57. Tell ya, the Tech started off very well, but they were under the wing of Ty Sadowski. He ended up with 32 points for the Franklin County Tech in the win. Noah Ostakaitis ended up with 16, Robbie Murphy with 6, and Gabe Tomasi with 5, as the Franklin County Tech picked up a big win in Northampton against Smith Voc last Tuesday. Well, Frontier took on the Renaissance School. You know, they were down big after the first quarter, 19-5, but they came all the way back and picked up a 69-61 victory. Ian Sperrins ended up with 27 points for the for Frontier. Eric Brown ended up with 15. Tyler Dubriel ends up with 11. Dylan Martin with 9 in the victory for Frontier over the Renaissance School last Tuesday, 69-61. Well, the Pioneer boys basketball team has been on a roll, and last Tuesday they took on Turner's Falls. They honestly doubled them up. Final score was 70-35. Pioneer led 37-17 at halftime. They ended up leading after 3 quarters, 57-24. They picked up that win. Ryan Potter ended up with 17 for the win for Pioneer. Jaden Fox with 14, Braden Thayer and Sean Allen, they each had 10. For Turners, J.J. Charles ends up with 13, and Levin Prondecki had 10 in the loss for the Thunder. Well, in girls basketball last Tuesday, it was the Frontier girls taking on Lennox. This was a total breakdown of offense for this Frontier team, but great defense. That's right, Madison McKemmy. She ended up making a memorable shot for her team. That's right, she ended up scoring at the buzzer. And what a way to be able to win a game 28-26 over the Lennox Millionaires. It was totally about defense. Frontier was leading 17-16 at halftime. They end up winning on a buzzer beater. You want to talk about a good game. Really, if you're a defensive person, then you definitely saw a treat up there in the Berkshires last Tuesday. Good news is that the girls from Frontier picked up the win. Well, the Mohawk girls took on Pathfinder last Tuesday. The visiting Mohawk Warriors, they set the tone early as they outscored Pathfinder 12-1 after the first quarter. They ended up winning that game. Miaa LaSure, well, she ended up with 22 for her team. Stella Clark ends up with 8. Also, Isabel Pettengill, she gets 5, and Octava Crawford with 4 in the win for Mohawk. Well, the East Hampton girls basketball team is very, very good. And they proved how good they were as they knocked off Pioneer 60-32 last Tuesday. Really, there was only a couple of girls who were able to get the scoring done for Pioneer. One of those girls that had a great day was Haley Ring. She ended up with 15 points, including 3 of those that were 3-pointers. Really, I must tell you, this East Hampton team is probably one of the best in Western Mass. Well, we want to let you know that Alpine Skiing also happens during the week, and it happened last Tuesday. Yep, 2 meets into the season, and the Mohawk Alpine team is really flexing their muscles. That's right, the Warriors swept the podium. They won last Tuesday at Berkshire East. It's what they call meet number 2 in Charlemont. And Weston Den Odin took first place on the boys' side, and Addie Loomis, she captured the victory on the girls' side. Emily Sissom was right behind her in second place. Those individual wins helped Mohawk to be able to win both the team events as well. Well, on Wednesday last week, we had a high school hockey game between the Greenfield Green Wave and Agawam. And this is one of those games that really builds a lot of character in your team. Things look very bleak for the Greenfield High School hockey team as they were down 3-0 with just 6 minutes to play. That's right, 6 minutes to play. They ended up scoring 3 goals in 6 minutes, and they were able to walk out of there with a tie. That is unbelievable. That's right, with time winding down, we thought for sure that it was going to be an Agawam win. Well, things changed. 5 minutes and 16 seconds to play. Greenfield's Trevor Kucheski, he found the back of the net for Greenfield. Then Kucheski scored again 42 seconds later to make it 3-2 Agawam. Then, just 17 seconds after that, Shane Prusak ended up getting the final Greenfield goal to tie the game at 3-3. Neither team was able to produce a goal the rest of the way, and after scoreless overtime, they settled for a 3-3 tie. Wow, very impressive what the Wave was able to do last Wednesday. Well, in boys wrestling, it was Miaa beating up on the Frankel County Tech 48-27. 4 different Miaa wrestlers won their matches to be able to pull off the victory. The wins that were for the Frankel County Tech include Will Rosenberg at 120 pounds. Also, Zadrian Alamed at 126 and Josh Burnell at 145. In girls basketball last Wednesday, the Frankel County Tech girls, they took on Putnam. After struggling to be able to put the ball in the hoop against Turner's Falls last week, well, the Frankel County Tech ladies, they couldn't miss anything on Wednesday. Matter of fact, they did so well that they ended up with 11 three-pointers in that game, 7 for 10 from the free throw line to pick up that win. Kendra Campbell, she ended up pacing her team with 22. Hannah Gilbert ended up with 15. Leah Chapman with 6. Caitlin Trudeau with 5. Balanced scoring, nice win for the ladies at the Tech. Well, the Turners Falls girls, they took on the Pioneer girls. It was a really good game last Wednesday, I must tell you. And let me just say this. It was one of those back and forth games. After trailing 2019 heading into the fourth quarter against Pioneer, the Turners Falls girls found a way to be able to pull away with that victory. Well, it was because Emily Young, she went off for 11 points in the fourth quarter at home to give her team the win. She ended up with 19 on the night. Also, Steph Peterson, Holly Myers, they each had 4, and Lily Spira scored 3 points for Turners. Haley Ring, she ended up with 8 points for Pioneer. Sophia Walker, also Addison Harrington, and Caroline Ring, they each had 4 in the loss for Pioneer. Tell you, I was there. It was a good game. Well, on Thursday in boys basketball, the Franklin County Tech boys continued their winning ways at home. Another game that I was at last week. Yep, we did the Tech and Athol boys game. It was 56-48. And let me tell you something right now. Ty Sadowski has been on fire. He really has done so many great things for his team. And the one thing I can tell you is that going into the fourth quarter, it was the Tech leading by 7, but they were able to open that up a little bit more to pick up that victory. Well, I can tell you that Ty Sadowski ended up with 28 points. What a solid night he had after having 32 against Smith Voke earlier in the week. Well, the team is definitely coming together, Sadowski says. He also says that we're playing good basketball all around. Right now, their team that started 2-4, well, now 6-4. It's a big help. And let me tell you, it all comes down to being able to play well. And, of course, it's a lot better when you play good defense and you can score. And that's exactly what the Tech boys are doing right now. Well, Pioneer picked up a 50-43 victory in boys basketball last Thursday. Jaden Fox scored 13 points. Braden Thayer, Josh Wood each had 10 as they led Pioneer in the win in Orange on Thursday. Thayer knocked down a nice 28-footer for 3 points right around the time that they needed to be able to get a big bucket. And it worked out well for them as Pioneer picked up the win. Southwick, well, let me tell you right now, this is one of those games where the Turners boys were looking for their first victory of the season as they took on Southwick. And here's the sad part. They literally had a chance to tie it at the buzzer, and it rimmed out. Final score was 56-54. Southwick wins by 2 at home. You know, Turners was trailing 49-37 entering the fourth quarter. They came all the way back. They started playing some good presence in their defensive end, and then they also did a really good job on scoring, something that this team has struggled to do. They made a good run. It was a very competitive game, but unfortunately, they lost by 2. Well, on Thursday in girls basketball, the Frankel County Tech girls, they took on the Athol girls. Final score was 53-47. You know, trailing by 10 in the fourth quarter, Athol had things in control, but it all sort of fell apart as the girls from the Tech found the way to win. Hannah Gilbert, she had 23 points, 7 rebounds. Leah Chapman with 12 points, 12 rebounds. Kendra Campbell, 10 points, pulled down 8 rebounds, and Caitlin Trudeau had 6 points for the Franklin County Tech. So the Tech girls continue their winning ways with a win over Athol on Thursday. Well, in boys and girls swimming, it was Turners taking on Munson. Nick Martin and Desmond Wallace, they each won to be able to lift the Turners Falls boys team to a 22-14 win over Munson. Now that was over at the pool over at Turners Falls High School last Thursday. Nick Martin, well, he touched the wall first in the 50-yard freestyle. Desmond Wallace also won the 100 backstroke. Matthew Sibley, he was second place in the 500 freestyle for Turners. Now on the girls' side, they ended up getting beat by Munson 66-27. Despite the victory of Munson, Sophia McComb, well, she was the winner in the 100 backstroke. Leah Gump, she was the runner-up in second place in the 200 freestyle. Alex Wood took second in the 100 free. The 200 freestyle relay team of McComb, Lillian Poirier, Gump, and Ella Gudabani ended up being victorious for Turners Falls. Well, Alpine Skiing continued, and it was a nice win once again for Addie Loomis. She is racking up the wins at Berkshire East. Yeah, Loomis won her second straight Alpine race as she ended up winning on Thursday. Now, she won earlier in the week, back on a Tuesday. She took first place overall with a time of 26 seconds and 26.226 seconds to be able to win the giant slalom. 2 other Mohawk finishers in the top 10 included Emmy Sissom, she took third, and Ellie Pinkham, she took 10th place. Now on the boys' side, placing in the top 10 at number 7 was Liam Green for Mohawk. Well, we're already all the way into Friday, aren't we, as our week is rolling on here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. And in girls basketball, the Pioneer girls took on Smith Academy. Yep, Sophia Walker came through with a clutch shot to be able to help her team win the game. That's right, as the Pioneer Panthers were tied with Smith Academy with 34 seconds left to play, well, Sophia Walker drained a 3-pointer. And yes, Pioneer girls pick up a win over Smith Academy on Friday night. It was a big win, says their coach Mike Churchill. He says that it's a win we needed. We've lost a couple of close ones, but nice that we were able to pull this off. Sophia's shot was huge. Well, Sophia ended up with 9 points to lead her team. Haley Ring, she ended up with 9 as well. And Addison Harrington with 6 points. Laura Collar, she played a great game defensively to be able to help her team in the victory. Well, on Friday, it was the Frankel County Tech girls as they took on the Mohawk girls. And boy, after playing 4 games in a row last week, the Frankel County Tech girls still had a little bit in the tank to be able to pull off the great win. Kaylin Trudeau, she ended up with 12 points for the Frankel County Tech. Kendra Campbell ended up with 11. Hannah Gilbert had 7. And Leah Chapman with 6. She also pulled down 17 rebounds. Tell you, it was a great job that was done right there by the Tech girls. But Stella Clark, she ends up leading the Mohawk girls with 12. Maya LaSure with 9. Octava Crawford ended up with 5 in the loss for the girls up on the hill in Buckland. Well, Turners picked up a 46-28 win over Miaa, leading only by 4 at halftime. Turners Falls really turned things up as they ended up literally taking a nice, comfortable lead after 3. It was 34-23, and then they went on to pick up the win. Emily Young scored 16 points for Turners. Maddie Lamatanian, she ended up with 13. Also, Morgan Tobias ends up with 8. Lily Spiro with 7. Nice balanced scoring right there for the ladies and Turners, and another victory. They are having an outstanding season. In boys basketball on Friday, it was Lee taking on Turners Falls, and unfortunately, it was all Lee in this one. Levin Prondecki, he ended up with 14 points for Turners Falls on Friday. Alex Kuzada, he ended up with 9, and also Brendan Truesdell, he had 5 points in the loss. Well, we slide into Saturday. And Nordic Skating is always big. Yep, Nordic skiing is pretty popular up in the West County. And Mohawk had an opportunity to be able to take advantage of some good opportunities with that great weather and enjoying the great snow up over there at Berkshire East as they picked up a win. So nice job for the girls over there and the boys on Saturday. Well, in boys basketball, it was the Greenfield boys doing a makeup game against Miaa. Final score was 53-43. Visiting Greenfield picked up a nice start at 15-3 after the first quarter. Well, things started to change a little bit. Miaa started to come back, but when all was said and done, the Green Wave picked up the 10-point victory. Balanced scoring always helps too. John Breer ended up with 16. Caleb Murray, he ended up with 11. Alex Carballo, he had 8, and Henry Zakara ends up with 7 in the win for Greenfield. Well, Hopkins ended up taking on Frontier, and it was all Hopkins Academy as they ended up picking up an 18-point win. Tell you right now, the first quarter was the biggest problem for Frontier. Yep, Hopkins Academy literally was leading 24-5 after the first quarter. Yep, the halftime score, 44-16. Well, it was a night to be able to honor Andrew Ciaglo as he ended up getting his 1,000-point banner raised into the rafters over at Hopkins Academy. Thing was, is he wasn't able to have that banner raised last year because of COVID. That's when he got his 1,000 points. But of course, there'll be no number on that because he's still got to finish his 2022 season. One of the all-time best scorers in Hopkins history is this kid right here, Andrew Ciaglo. By the way, Frontier, they ended up having 12 points from Tyler Dubriel in that loss, and Eric Brown ended up with 9. Well, in a game that folks can be able to enjoy on Greenfield Community Television and on the FCAT, boys hockey, and a hockey game that happened on Saturday. Greenfield and Drury, and it was all Greenfield in this one. Yeah, they ended up mopping them up pretty good. Final score was 7-1. Let me tell you, Saturday night explained how lopsided that victory was. But by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, folks, but if you've been following hockey, Drury has always given Greenfield fits. Well, there was no fit this week as they ended up picking up the victory. Trevor Kucheski, Sammy Knight, they each finished with hat tricks. That's right. Yep, the hats were flying over at GHS. Also, Jake Jurek, he ended up scoring one of the other goals. Shane Prusak ended up with an assist on 3. Hunter Smith assisted on 2. There you have it. big win Saturday at Greenfield High School at the Collins Moylan Arena as the Wave picked up the 7-1 win. Well, they weren't done because they had a game on Sunday. Yes, a big game against Belchertown. Well, let me tell you, that was over at the practice rink over at the Mullins Center in Amherst. Big game for them and ended up being a 2-2 tie. Greenfield converted the only power play that was in the second period. And yeah, it was Shane Prusak who ended up having that unassisted goal. And then Trevor Kacheski, he picked up the second goal. What a nice game in the net for Josh Bordeaux. He ended up with 27 saves in that game versus Belchertown. It ended in a 2-2 tie. Well, I wanted to share something with you folks, just sort of give you an idea of where things are standing as we're at the halfway point of our season. It's called the first MIAA Power Rankings. And what it does is it sort of gives folks an idea of where they stand to get ready for the state tournament. Now, let me just reiterate something that's very important. I'm going to give you a number of what their rating is, but any team that ends up with a record of 500 or better automatically makes the state tournament. But let's talk about what we have going on. Boys basketball. 3 of the area schools are in the top 32 in the state in the Division 5 field. Pioneer is the highest as they're currently at 7 overall. Greenfield and the Franklin County Tech are the 2 that are in there, but by the way, their numbers are very high. Greenfield is sitting at 29 and the Tech school at 32. Here's the thing. If these schools, because of their power rankings, end up making the top 32, even with a record below 500, it's because of the schools that they played. They get special points. Or if they end up being, like I said, 500 or better. Let's go to girls basketball here in Franklin County. Frontier is currently the only team in Division 4 in the top 32, and they are sitting right now at number 14. Division 5. We have many schools in Division 5 in the girls that are qualified if things went today. That's right. The Turner's girls, they're in there. They're at number 11. Franklin County Tech girls are 19. Greenfield girls are 23. Pioneer girls, 28. Mohawk girls, 31. All those girls' teams, if it was today, would all make the state tournament. And of course, we only have that one lone hockey team. And that one lone hockey team, of course, is Greenfield. And by the way, they, at this time, believe it or not, are power ranked at 38 in Division 5, which means that they are not in the top 32, but they are over 500, so they would qualify for the tournament. It's been such a weird thing of how sports have been. And what I want to share with folks here as we wind down our last few minutes here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report is a big problem we're having with the Omicron virus. The Omicron virus has really hit all of our high schools. Many of the schools are not being able to field teams. They don't have players to be able to compete because of the virus going through locker rooms throughout Franklin County. We also have a big issue with some towns. And the Franklin Regional Council of Governments does a great job with their data to be able to let folks know how things are going in each community. But listen, it's more than that. The number that the Franklin Regional Council of Governments give you is not correct. And people say, what do you mean it's not correct? Well, listen, think about this for a minute. If me and my producer, Philippe Simone, both do a home remedy test, and we don't contact our Board of Health to tell them that we both tested positive, how would they know? They wouldn't. So the numbers that they're getting are numbers that are being reported to the Board of Health. So when you get someone who gets a rapid test that they pick up at a supermarket somewhere and they take it, or a pharmacy, they may have the virus, but they're not reporting them all. So the number that you might see, where you see, for an example, at Greenfield, where it said 708 was the number last week, it's probably double or triple that with people that might be sick at home who took the rapid test. So this is why when we end up having all these canceled sports, it's because they're having problems within the schools with students. And a lot of these kids that are not getting tested at school might get a rapid test from their parents at home, and that's where they're getting it. But it's not being reported. My point is if we don't start getting a better handle on this, my question is, will there be a state tournament for basketball and hockey? That would be a real devastating thing for the kids if they weren't able to have that. That would be very disappointing. And I feel that the only way that they're going to fix this is if the kids are able to be a little more responsible about what they're doing in their free time. If they're spending a lot of time with their fellow teammates, going to school, doing their job in the classroom, maybe they can just go home and try to chill, because we're only probably a month away before we start finding out what the pairings are going to be for the state tournament. We're a month away. That's it. And I want that to happen for all these kids. They deserve it. And it would be such a shame if we weren't able to control what's going on right now with all of these kids within the classroom, their school, and believe it or not, a lot of these kids are even getting their own teammates sick because they don't know. They're just starting to feel something. They've been hanging around, they've been playing defense, they've been able to chum around in the locker room, and then someone gets it, and then all of a sudden they get tested, they're positive, and then they end up testing everyone else, and then all of a sudden 3 kids, 4 kids on the team are getting sick. And that's when these towns are saying, well, we can't have a basketball game Tuesday night because we have a team that has COVID. And one of those teams that's been struggling with it right now is our friends from Miaa. And hopefully things will get better. Well, we'll do it again next week. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Thank you, Philippe Simone, for pinch hitting for John Meisner here this week. Always the best. We're so lucky to have great people. Thank you to Franklin First Federal Credit Union, franklinfirst.org, Manny's TV and Appliance, River Street in Greenfield, Route 9 in Hadley, and Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services, our local audiologist at alberhearing.com. Until we meet again next week, you have yourself a wonderful week and continue to support our local athletes. Take care.